Hello aspirants and welcome again to Legacy IS Academy. As Prelims 2025 is fast approaching, I believe all of you have started with your revision. So we will be now presenting the very latest compilation of Indian economy current affairs, that is for March 2025. I hope the previous ones you have already done. If not, do that and then move ahead with March 2025. So let's get started with March 2025 current affairs for Indian economy. Now, what all is included in this month is what we'll see first. The very first thing is the incentive scheme for promotion of low value BHIM UPI transaction. So what is the scheme about? Why is the scheme brought in? We'll see all that. Then there is equalization levy. So the government has promised to stop the equalization levy on a certain thing from 1st of April 2025. We'll see what that is. We'll also understand the concept of equalization levy. Next is the National Technical Textiles Mission. So here the most important thing to understand is what is the Technical Textiles Mission, or in fact, in particular, what are technical textiles. You might have heard about textiles, the shirt, the clothing, etc. So what is this technical textile? What all things are included in that? We'll see that as well. Then there is Public Account Committee. It has called for review of GST. So what is the review? Why the review is needed? All that thing we'll see. Then scheme for cooperative sugar mills. There is a scheme for sugar mills. We'll see that scheme in detail. And then a report has been released by World Bank. Its title itself is Becoming a High Income Economy in a Generation. So in that specifically, we will see the case of India as to how India can become a high income economy within one generation. What is the rate of growth that we need? What is India's present status? What can be the status in the near future? And by when? That is, by when can we become a high income economy? Then you have UNCTAD released a report named A World of Debt Report. Then we'll look at Samarth, and finally the Uplink initiative. So let's get started with the March 2025 current affairs for Indian economy. The very first thing, incentive scheme for promotion of low value BHIM UPI transactions. So the union government has approved this scheme, which is an incentive scheme. Incentive means you will get some amount of incentive. Incentive for what? For having done low value transactions, low value BHIM UPI transactions via the BHIM app is what you will have to do. So the transaction have to be low valued and it has to be through BHIM UPI. Then some amount of incentive will be given. So let us look the scheme in detail. If you talk about the coverage, it will cover UPI person to merchant. Person to merchant means you as an individual paying to a merchant, to a business. That is the transaction, that is P2M transaction is what it will cover, and it will be implemented with an outlay. This outlay of 1500 crore, fair enough. This exact amount is not that important, but what is important is that it will cover person to merchant transaction. Now, what is the amount of incentive that you will get? So the amount of incentive that you will get is 0.15% per transaction. This will be provided only for UPI transactions, and that too of low value. So what is the value we are talking about? It is up to 2000 rupees. That means less than equal to 2000 rupees is what we are talking about here. It is pertaining to the category of small merchants. So 0.15% of maximum you can go up to 2000 rupees. Now, this incentive which will be there is paid to the acquiring bank. Acquiring bank means when the transaction happens, since it's P2M, what will happen? Will the merchant pay to the person? No, it is the person who will pay to the merchant. So the merchant bank will be the acquiring bank. So they can ask you a question in this scheme, which bank, whose bank is the acquiring bank? Both customer and merchant, or the merchant or customer, or none of the above. So it is the merchant's bank that will be the acquiring bank, and this will be shared with the issuer bank. The issuer bank will be that of the customer. I hope that is clear. Moving ahead, as per the new amendments to equalization levy is what we will see. So what is equalization levy? Will come on to that. But what is the new amendment that we are talking about? As per the new amendment that is proposed in the Financial Act, earlier equalization levy was imposed in 2016. It was first imposed in 2016, right? Subsequently, not now, what has happened, from 1st April 2025 onwards, there will be no equalization levy. It will not apply. The equalization levy will not apply on the online advertisements. So what is the change saying? That equalization levy, which is also known as digital tax on online advertisements. So there was a digital tax on online advertisements which will not apply going forward from 1st April 2025. So let us understand what is this equalization levy. See, there are certain companies, right, which may not have establishments in India. Foreign countries do not have establishments in India for their operations, but are generating revenue, right? That is a possibility. So what happens is, since they do not have any establishment in India, they do not pay taxes in India. At the same time, in their home country, what they say is, this revenue has been generated from our offshore account from India, so why should we pay taxes in our home country, is what they will say. Let's say the home country is USA. So what happens is, this USA company does not have an establishment in India, so does not pay taxes in India, and to USA government it says that my income has been accruing from India, not here, so why I should pay taxes over here. So what was happening is, the taxes were not being paid, so that will give an unequal playing field. Unequal playing field to these companies as compared to any other company. Let's say, for example, as compared to Indian company who's paying taxes to the Indian government, so the profitability will be less, so less amount to invest in expansion of business. Here there will be more amount because they are not paying their taxes. As a result of which, the government of India came up with the equalization. That is why the name equalization, to bring them at equal footing with respect to the other companies as well. So that's when you're not paying taxes, that's when the equalization levy is imposed. So it is what? It is basically a direct tax which was introduced in 2016 by Finance Act of 2016 for taxing digital transactions, that is income accruing to foreign e-commerce companies from India, right? Foreign e-commerce companies from India. Now, if you look at the equalization levy, the transactions that are subjected to equalization levy, so of course we know that advertisement was one such transaction, and when this article came out in March, there was still equalization levy, but as we might be seeing this in April, so already 1st April is gone and there is no more equalization levy on online advertisement. So online advertisement services, it consists of 6% equalization levy. It is no longer present over there. Next, if you talk about e-commerce supply of goods or services, now this also carried an equalization levy of 2%. Now that has already been abolished from since 2024 onwards. What is the condition here? The levy was not introduced as part of an income tax. Of course, it was not part of an income tax act. It was not. It is not to be imposed on the domestic firms. It is to be imposed on the foreign firms, the firms which are not having establishments but having digital transactions through which they are accruing the income and not paying taxes. So for them, on them, this equalization levy was introduced, and they cannot get any exemption from this equalization levy even under the double taxation avoidance agreement. This is a very important sentence, that they cannot get any tax benefit of this equalization levy and even under the double taxation avoidance agreements. Now, double taxation avoidance agreement need not necessarily be, it is not among each and every country of the world. There are certain countries which come together and come to an agreement of double taxation avoidance agreement. So if their country has such an agreement with India, still they will not be exempted or cannot benefit from the double taxation avoidance agreement with respect to the equalization levy. Moving ahead, the next topic is that of National Technical Textile Mission. So what is the news about it? It has been 5 years since the launch of this NTTM, that is National Technical Textile Mission. So any scheme which is completing 5 years or 10 years, you can go through them, because generally the targets are of 5 years, 10 years. So you will understand what has happened. Even if the targets are not there, since they are achieving 10 years, still it is there. So might be a good scheme, an important scheme, a big scheme. So that kind of schemes you should revise, right? So that's just a hint for 2026 aspirants. What will happen is all the schemes started in 2026. In fact, a lot of schemes were started in 2016. A lot of schemes started in 2016. A lot of schemes started in 2015. So for 2025 students as well, the Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana, Fasal Bima Yojana, all it's 2014, 15, 16, when the new government was formed, a spree of schemes came into picture. So all those become quite important for us. Now, this is a scheme for technical textile. So what are technical textiles? Basically, technical textiles are fabrics made for specific functions and performance rather than for looks. So if you go to buy a particular kind of a trouser, jersey, shirts, t-shirts, gowns, dresses, any kind of attire, it does, of course, the quality has to be there, but majorly it is about the looks, the comfort, etc. But the technical textiles are the textiles that are fabrics made for specific function, specific purpose, whose focus is performance. So the moment you see performance, what you might think of sports, for example. So technical textile, what will be there? A part of sports textile, right? Because performance is important, more important than the looks. That is the meaning of technical textiles. So they are used in products that will help to protect people, improve their efficiency, improve the productivity, so on and so forth. For example, technical textiles in sports helps the people to run better, to race better, to swim better, so on and so forth. So what is the aim of this scheme? To make India a global leader in technical textile. The budget was close to 1500, but aim is important. Make India a global leader in technical textile. It is under Ministry of Textiles. It was up to 25-26, so it is still ongoing. We'll see whether later on it gets expanded or not, but remember that it is under the Ministry of Textiles. It has 4 components. Number 1, research, innovation and development. Very important to keep on producing better and better technical textiles. Second, promotion and market development is also very important. The entire world should realize that India is a leader or a producer in this, so that we become the global leader. Then export promotion. Of course, the market is the entire world. And education, training and skill development. This will also help us to get labor. This will help us to get employees for this particular sector. Now, if you look at the technical textiles, there are total 12 categories of technical textiles. You can remember them, so that if in option they ask which of the following are part of technical textiles, you should be able to identify them by looking at the options. So very first, Indotech, that is industrial related commodities will be there. Industrial brushes, computer printer, ribbon, composite ropes, coated abrasive drive belts, conveyor belts, etc. So where do you see conveyor belts? Let's say a mining industry. So again, conveyor belts, things are passed through the conveyor belt. So all those things. Then you have mobile tech, seat cover, upholstery, tire cord fabrics, tufted carpet, insulation belts, etc. Then you have sport tech, very important, sports nets, parachutes, all these things, artificial grass, turf, sports composites, all these are part of technical textile. Then you have build tech. This will be for the construction sector, that is floor and wall coverings, scaffolding, all those things. Then let's move ahead. Then there is home tech. So you have pillows, mattresses, blinds. What are blinds? Which covers the windows. So those are all the home techs. Then you have meditechs in the field of medicine. This will be there. The baby diapers, sanitary napkins, surgical sutures, surgical disposables, so on and so forth. Then you have the cloth tech, interlinings, labels, elastic narrow fabrics, shoelaces, etc. are also the fabric. Now you see this, the shoelaces, all these things, These are not the usual kind of textile we relate ourselves with, but these are the technical textiles. Then agrotech, bird protection nets that are there. Even in many apartments, also in buildings, you will see that the bird protecting nets are there. They are technical textiles. Moving ahead, Protech. Now, Protech is bulletproof protective clothing, etc. Packtech, wrapping fabric, soft luggage. Otech, that is waste for waste management, and Geotech for geocomposite, geo bags, so on and so forth. So these are the 12 different kinds of technical textiles. Moving ahead, the Parliamentary Committee on Public Accounts, it has sought for comprehensive review of GST framework. Now, why is there a necessity for a comprehensive review of GST network? Because of a lot of compliance issue, at times compliance burden, at times a conflict of interest, or at times the mismatch in the amount of interest that is there. For example, the raw material of a particular finished good is taxed at a higher rate than the finished good itself. So that itself is sort of a discrepancy which exists. A raw material procured by at lower level, less amount of processing, less money is involved, but taxed at a higher rate than a finished good. So all these kinds of things are happening, as a result of which the Parliamentary Committee on Public Accounts has sought for basically a comprehensive review of GST framework. Now, GST framework, so this is the news. Now, about that we will understand about GST as to what all are the taxes that are subsumed in GST and what taxes are still not there. So before going on to the taxes that are subsumed under GST, there are certain things which are not a part of GST. For example, you do not have alcohol as a part of GST. You do not have your petrol or diesel as a part of GST. Now, what is the reason for this? One probable reason for this is the highest tax rate under GST is for the luxury or the sin goods, that is of 28%. But if you look at the taxation on alcohol and petrol, you will realize that there is around 100% of taxes on these products. So if they are brought in the GST net, what will happen is the taxes will drastically go down. It will drastically affect. So what are the basically the central taxes and the state taxes subsumed is what we will see over here. We are very clear that alcohol and petrol is not covered because the present taxation rates are quite high. If you include them, the revenues will be lost. But there are certain taxes which have been subsumed under GST. So what we will see them. What are the central taxes that are subsumed? The service tax. The service tax is when you go to a restaurant, there will be a charge on the bill which will talk about the service tax. So earlier that service tax was present in that bill. Now you don't have the service tax, that is subsumed under the GST. Then there is central excise duty, additional duties of excise. The central excise duties, this is for the transfer of goods and services from one state to another, the cross-border trade, the interstate trade that takes place. Then excise duty under medicinal and toilet preparation, additional duties of customs, special additional duty of customs, and surcharges and cesses. So what are these surcharges and cesses? These surcharges and cesses are imposed by the central government only, and when you talk about the cesses, they are there for a specific purpose and they have to be utilized for a specific purpose only. You cannot collect tax as a cess and then put them in a pool of taxes and utilize it generally. You have to utilize it only for specific reasons. Now, moving ahead, there are certain state tax that are also subsumed under the GST. So what are they? The central sales tax, the purchase tax, entertainment and amusement tax, other than those levied by the local bodies. So what is this entertainment tax? So if you go to watch a movie, there is a tax on the movie ticket, which is an entertainment tax. Now that is levied by the state government. So that is also subsumed under the GST. Then you have luxury tax, octroi, taxes on lotteries and betting and gambling, taxes on advertisements, state cesses and surcharges. So certain state cesses are also taken into consideration in GST. Moving ahead, scheme for cooperative sugar mill. So what is this, the scheme? Recently, Union government has notified the scheme for cooperative sugar mills under the modified ethanol interest subvention scheme. Now remember the ministry, which ministry is involved? It's not the agriculture ministry, even though sugarcane is involved or sugar mills are involved, which is related to sugarcane. The industry ministry over here is the Ministry of Consumer Affairs and the Department of Food and Public Distribution. So what does this scheme aims to do? This scheme aims to convert the existing sugarcane based feedstock plants, sugarcane based feedstock ethanol plants, into multi feedstock based plants. Means what? Presently these plants are sugarcane based feedstock ethanol plants, only converting ethanol based on the sugarcane remains that is coming. So it needs to be converted into multi feedstock based plants. Plants mean what? Not the crops, but the generation of ethanol which happens in the plants. So that needs to be converted to multi feedstock based plants, so that grains like maize, damaged food grains, etc. can also be used for the generation or production of ethanol. If you are doing that, if you are converting it into multi feedstock, then the government will help you out. How will they help you out? Through interest subvention. Through interest subvention. Interest subvention at 6% per annum. Means if the loan you are taking has an interest rate of 10%, 6% will be provided by the government, that is interest subvention. So net effective interest rate for you will be just 10 minus 6, that is 4%, or 50% of the rate of interest charged by the banks or financial institutions, whichever is lower, you will be provided by the government. Now next is becoming a high income economy in a generation. This report has been brought out by the World Bank, and the World Bank is saying that India can become a high income economy within a generation, that is by 2047. So the report recognizes that India needs, it also tells us the growth rate that we need to become a high income country by 2047. The growth rate that we need is 7.8% on an average for over the next 22 years. So we are presently in 2025 plus 2022. So by 2000 plus 2020 plus 22 gives you by 2047. That will be exactly 100 years since our independence. So India became a low middle income economy in 7-8. Presently, India is moving in such a pace that by 2030, India can become an upper middle income country, and by 2047, we can probably become a high income country. But for that, we have to grow by a percentage of 7.8% or more. Next is a world of debt report by UNCTAD. So UNCTAD has released a world of debt report 2024. It talks about the public debt. It says that yes, the public debt can drive the economic growth. However, higher amount of public debt is not advisable. It may not be sustainable, is what they are saying. Public debt, it can drive the development by funding critical expenditures, right? Of course, but excessive debt growth, it poses challenge, especially for the developing nation, and India is a developing nation. This report becomes very important. Excessive debt is a bigger challenge for the developing nations, including India. It's what it is saying. Now, what is public debt? Public debt is also referred to as a sovereign debt. Sovereign debt means the debt of a country or a nation. So what is it? It is the total financial obligation, means the liability accumulated by a government through borrowing. Now borrowing can be from domestic sources or from external sources, and that borrowing is to fund the expenditure that exceeds the revenue. So let's say the government of India has a revenue of 100 rupees, but the expenditure is 104. So 4 rupees is the additional money that you need, for which the government would the government would borrow the money. The government can borrow from the domestic market or the international market to fund this deficit which is there. Now the amount that it is borrowing, now it borrows 4 rupees this year, next year also it will borrow, then next year also. So, and it also keeps on repaying, but still the debt keeps on accumulating also. So the overall accumulation of such debt is known as the public debt or the sovereign debt or the debt over a country. Now, if you look at the debt of India, so 82.5% general government debt to GDP ratio is 82.5%. Now, FRBM has said that it should not go beyond 60%. It has gone beyond 60%. So we should limit it. But if you compare it with the first world countries, it is quite low. But of course, this report says for a developing country, this will be a big issue. So we have to lower it as per the FRBM Act. If you look at the external debt to GDP ratio, only 18.7% is our external debt. It is second lowest among the top 6 economies. So top 6 economies, USA, China, India is also there as per PPP. So we are the second lowest among the top 6 economies when it comes to external commercial borrowings of the government. Next is Samarth. So here the Center for Development of Telematics, Center for Development of Telematics, this is the institution that has launched Samarth. So what is Samarth? It is a cutting edge incubation program for telecommunications and IT services. What is incubation? There have been incubation program previously for startups as well, wherein the startups are helped, incubated. Incubator is a place wherein, generally if you look at from the agriculture perspective, incubators are the, or agriculture related activities perspective, incubators are the place where the eggs are kept in a proper ambience in order for them to hatch. Right, so that is the incubator where the growth takes place. So the growth incubators are there for startups. A similar concept is being utilized here. Center for Development of Telematics has launched the Samarth initiative, which is nothing but a cutting edge incubation program specifically for, you should know for which sector, that is telecommunications and the IT sector. Now, what is the aim of this Samarth? The aim is encourage the development of sustainable and scalable business models. Sustainable and scalable business model, offer access to cutting edge resources and help startups bridge the gap from ideation to commercialization. What is the meaning from ideation to commercialization? See, a lot of us would have many ideas and we may think, wow, it's a great idea, but have we been able to implement it practically and reap the benefit of it and start making money out of it? So ideation is the idea stage of the startup or a business, wherein the business at just the ideation stage, just the idea you have got. Commercialization, when you start making profit, start making money out of it. So from the inception of the idea to commercialization, it is going to help the startups over here. The implementation partner, Software Technology Parks of India, premier S&T organization under Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology, that is METI. These will be the implementation partners. Then the last topic is the Uplink initiative under the World Economic Forum. Uplink initiative is under the World Economic Forum, which what has it achieved? It has basically cut carbon emissions by 1,42,400 tons in the year 2023-24. So that is a huge cut of carbon emission that has happened under this particular program. Now, what is this initiative all about? So this is a good achievement. So that is why this program becomes important, because this achievement has been notified very recently, of course, in the month of March. So it becomes important for your examination. It is an initiative focused on impactful early stage innovation. Impactful early stage innovation. It was founded in 2020 by World Economic Forum in collaboration with Deloitte and Salesforce. Deloitte and Salesforce are two private organizations. With the help of the World Economic Forum and these organizations, they have come up with this Uplink. Now what it does, it basically tries to build ecosystems. What kind of ecosystem? That will enable purpose-driven, some motive of carbon neutrality, ecological positive impact, so on and so forth. Early stage entrepreneurs, early stage, so they won't be sort of into helping out the already grown organizations, but rather early stage startups. Why early stage startup? That would be, in very early stage, so implementation of more cutting edge technology, better ideas, all those things are very highly likely in these kind of startups. So entrepreneurs to scale their businesses for the markets that are essential to a net zero, nature positive and equitable future. So what do you mean by net zero? Net zero does not mean that the carbon emission is zero. Net zero actually means that carbon emission would be there, but here you are emitting carbon, there your technology is ensuring that the carbon is reduced. So 100 tons you emitted, it ensured 100%, 100 tons reduction, so it becomes net zero. What is nature positive? Nature positive means it would rather have a positive impact on the nature rather than negative impact. And equitable future, we cannot extract more right now and not keep for the future generation. We need to grow sustainably. Equitable future means we should extract as much as it is advisable in order to ensure that we do not reduce the ability of the future generation to utilize the resources that are present. So this is what is meant by equitable future. If you talk about the objective is to accelerate the impact of early stage innovators, enable innovative systems, and influence the perception. So understand the focus is clear here, clearly on innovation, and innovation also, that too at early stage. So these are the words becomes very important specifically for prelims, wherein a slight change in the wording can change it completely. They can talk about the already grown stable organized startups. No, it is for the early stage startup in the innovation sector, so that they can innovate more and come up with better and better solution. So this was all about March 2025 current affairs for Indian economy. We have covered almost the entire year's current affairs of Indian economy. Now, many times students ask the question up to when I should cover the current affairs. So if your exam is on 26th May, it doesn't harm for you to cover up to March and April as well. So keep on reading it. The idea is you keep on thinking the paper would have already been made in March, so should I not even refer to March? No, please refer this, and if you've missed out on any previous of them, go through them as well. Thank you.